You know those celebrity mansions that scream, "I'm rich," with golden toilets and driveways longer than your last relationship? Yeah, this isn't that. Stevie Nicks' Pacific Palisades home doesn't scream. It hums, softly, like a secret spell whispered at sunset. Because this isn't just a house, it's a portal. High above the Pacific, where the sky melts into the sea like candle wax, sits a mansion that looks less like real estate and more like a dream Fleetwood Mac accidentally conjured on tour. 47,000 square feet of rock and roll serenity, wrapped in eucalyptus whispers and ocean mist. A place where lace meets legacy and where solitude feels more luxurious than fame. Walk through the gates and you don't just enter a property, you step into a lyric. The driveway curves like a record groove, pulling you into her rhythm. Marble glows under the California sun. The air smells like sage, roses, and maybe a little bit of heartbreak. Inside 18,000 square feet of "Don't talk to me unless you've meditated today." 6 bedrooms, each big enough to host a Grammy after-party and still have space for the drama. A grand piano sits quietly in the living room, untouched by strangers waiting for moonlight. The walls shimmer with Venetian plaster that catches light the same way her voice catches your soul. Every inch feels alive, like the house itself has a pulse, echoing the lyrics written within it. And at the heart of it all, a kitchen that's more ritual than culinary. You don't cook here, you conjure. This is where conversations sparkle harder than champagne, and where ideas rise like soufflés under candlelight. Then she opens those sliding glass doors. Bam! A 90-foot infinity pool arcs across the cliff, like a silver crescent slicing through the horizon. It's part architecture, part optical illusion, and completely unfair to every other pool in Los Angeles. You don't swim here to cool off. You swim to find enlightenment. Stevie calls this her sanctuary. But let's be honest, it's more like a private universe. A wellness wing for the body, a soundproofed lounge for midnight jam sessions, a garden that smells like incense and secrets. And the master suite? It's so massive it probably has its own microclimate. Twin walk-in closets curated like a museum, each lace shawl, each velvet robe, each silver ring a chapter of her mythology. A bathroom so serene, mirrors don't just show reflections, they reveal auras. This isn't a house that shows off wealth, it shows off peace. Because for Stevie, luxury isn't about gold faucets or crystal chandeliers. It's about the silence between the notes, the space where she can finally breathe. And yet, this silence didn't come cheap. It was earned, note by note, heartbreak by heartbreak, song by song. So how does a shy little girl from Phoenix, who once couldn't even pronounce her own name, end up living in a mansion that feels like the physical form of a poem? Let's rewind the vinyl, drop the needle, and watch the story of how TD became the one and only Stevie Nicks. Before she was the high priestess of rock and roll, Stevie Nicks was just a little girl in Phoenix who couldn't say her own name. Instead of Stephanie, she said TD, and somehow in the sweetest twist of fate, TD became Stevie. Like the universe had already decided she'd need a name that could fit on a stadium marquee someday. Stevie didn't grow up surrounded by screaming fans or gold records. She grew up surrounded by music. Her grandfather, Aaron Jess A.J. Nicks, was a struggling country crooner who didn't give her dolls. He gave her vinyls, hundreds of them. While most kids were singing nursery rhymes, little Stevie was harmonizing to the Shirelles, the Everly Brothers, and Martha Reeves. She didn't play with toys, she played with tone. But it wasn't all lullabies and love songs. Her dad, a big executive at Greyhound, kept the family moving more than a band on tour. Phoenix, Albuquerque, El Paso, Salt Lake, San Francisco, each move another verse in her nomadic childhood. She learned early how to be the new girl, how to blend in, and how to dream alone. And somewhere between unpacked boxes and unfamiliar hallways, she stopped being a girl who liked music and became a girl who needed it. On her 16th birthday, her parents gave her a Goya guitar, and that was it. Cue the montage, a teenage Stevie, long hair, a notebook, 1,000 feelings, and a song title way too deep for a high schooler. I've loved and I've lost, and I'm sad but not blue. Dramatic, yes. Poetic, absolutely. Very Stevie. In high school, she joined a folk rock band called The Changing Times. It wasn't fame, but it was fuel. Then fate walked in, wearing bell-bottoms and playing California Dreamin' on an acoustic guitar. His name? Lindsey Buckingham. She didn't know it yet, but that one duet would spark one of rock's most famous and most chaotic partnerships. They started harmonizing, then collaborating, then falling. By 1967, she joined his band Fritz, and together they opened for literal legends, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. Imagine being barely 20 and opening for the two wildest spirits in rock history. That's like learning to drive by racing Formula One. But after 3 electrifying years, Fritz fizzled out. And Stevie? She didn't stop. She and Lindsey packed up, moved to Los Angeles, and traded spotlights for struggle. They lived in a tiny apartment, broke, surviving off spaghetti and hope. Stevie waited tables, cleaned houses, and typed lyrics late into the night. Lindsey recorded demos with a borrowed reel-to-reel, and Stevie kept writing about heartbreak, ambition, and all the things she couldn't say out loud. They scraped together enough for one album. Buckingham Nicks. It flopped so hard it didn't just fall off the charts, it never got on them. But the universe was just tuning up. Because destiny doesn't always arrive with applause. Sometimes it knocks softly, like a British drummer named Mick Fleetwood looking for a new guitarist. He found Lindsey. Lindsey said he'd join, but only if Stevie came too. Smart move, because what happened next would turn heartbreak into history. When Stevie Nicks walked into Fleetwood Mac, she didn't just join a band, she rewired rock and roll. Get ready for the fame, the fire, the heartbreak, and the mansion-sized success that followed. When Stevie Nicks walked into Fleetwood Mac, the universe didn't just nod, it stood up and applauded. It was 1975, and this soft-spoken, shawl-wearing poet with a voice like velvet and thunder was about to flip rock music upside down. The band had been a British blues act trying to survive lineup chaos. And then Stevie arrived. Barefoot, bohemian, and slightly dangerous. Suddenly, Fleetwood Mac wasn't just a band, it was a movement. Their first album with her, simply titled Fleetwood Mac, exploded. Rhiannon, her mystical ode to a Welsh witch, cast a global spell. Radio stations couldn't stop playing it. Listeners couldn't stop whispering, "Who is this woman?" She wasn't singing, she was summoning. And that was just the warm-up act. Because then came rumors, the most beautiful disaster in music history. The band was falling apart. Breakups, betrayals, love triangles that would make Netflix blush. Stevie and Lindsey, done. Christine and John McVie, done. Mick Fleetwood, secretly heartbroken. And yet out of that chaos came magic. Pure, immortal, Grammy-winning magic. Rumors didn't just sell, it erupted. 40 million copies, 31 weeks at #1. It turned heartbreak into art, and art into an empire. Stevie became the face of it all, spinning on stage like a storm goddess. Lace sleeves flowing, tambourine in hand, every move calculated chaos. Her voice was smoke and soul. Her lyrics, love letters from another dimension. The world had seen rock stars, sure, but it had never seen Stevie Nicks. And fame hit hard. Tours, interviews, paparazzi, gold records, rinse, repeat, collapse, recover. But instead of crumbling, she reinvented herself. She went solo. In 1981, Belladonna dropped like a spell cast in vinyl form. Within 3 months, it went platinum, 4 times over. Edge of 17, Stop Dragging My Heart Around. These weren't just hits, they were declarations. She wasn't just Fleetwood Mac's frontwoman anymore. She was the main event. And while other artists burned bright and vanished, Stevie turned her chaos into currency. She worked through heartbreak like it was therapy with a guitar. She survived band drama, breakups, addiction, and the endless pressure of perfection, and came out of it with lyrics that sounded like diary entries dipped in moonlight. Every scar became a verse. Every tear became a hit. Every rumor, a rumor. But even legends need quiet. For Stevie, The road was noise. The stage was energy. But peace? Peace lives somewhere else. Somewhere high above Los Angeles, where the ocean hums and the sky feels close enough to touch. She needed a place not to perform, but to be. That's how her Pacific Palisades mansion became more than just a home. It became the counterweight to fame, her temple of silence, her castle of calm, the one place where the only audience was the moon. Yet even for a goddess of rock, silence never lasts forever. Because when you've written the soundtrack to millions of lives, people want to know what comes next. But Stevie wasn't done writing her story. Not in music, not in money, and definitely not in magic. Because behind the candles and chiffon was a quietly brilliant businesswoman building an empire of freedom. Let's open the vault on the fortune and the legacy of rock's most mysterious millionaire. Stevie Nicks never chased money. She chased melody. But somewhere between Rhiannon and Edge of 17, between heartbreak and standing ovations, the money found her. Today, the woman who once cleaned houses to pay rent now lives in a fortress of calm worth nearly $40 million, and a net worth that glows at around $120 million. Not bad for someone who still journals by candlelight. Her fortune didn't appear overnight. It started with fragments. The Fleetwood Mac era, the tours, the records, the royalty checks that trickled in after every heartbreak turned platinum. When Belladonna exploded, the world saw a rock star. But behind the eyeliner and lace was a woman taking notes about ownership, publishing rights, and control. She knew the truth. Songs aren't just art, they're assets. And she treated every lyric like stock in her own soul. While others splurged on excess, Stevie invested in longevity, property, publishing, image control. She turned herself into both brand and mystery, the one rock icon who never had to overshare to stay relevant. And when the industry shifted, Stevie played it like chess. In 2020, she sold an 80% stake in her catalog for a mind-bending $100 million. A deal that made Wall Street analysts say, wait, who's her financial advisor? But she kept 20%, because even her songs still belong, at least partly to her. Yet here's the kicker. She never treated wealth as the point. For Stevie, money was just the background track to freedom. The real story lies in what she did with it. In 2004, while most rock legends were relaxing into their legacy, Stevie was walking the sterile halls of military hospitals in DC. She met young soldiers, wounded and silent, their spirits somewhere far away. She could have just smiled, posed for photos, and left. But she didn't. She went home, filled iPods with healing songs, and mailed them back. Hundreds of them. Her own money, her own playlists. She called it the Soldier's iPod, a musical lifeline for those who'd lost everything but memory. No press, no cameras, no hashtags. Just music and empathy. That's Stevie in a nutshell. She once said, "If I can make you feel less alone, then I've done my job." And she did, not just on stage, but in silence, in kindness, in every whisper of generosity the tabloids never saw. Her philanthropy quietly grew, supporting music education, addiction recovery, women's empowerment. But she never turned it into a brand, because that's not her style. Her real legacy isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in diaries, in chords, in the faces of fans who say, "Your song saved me." And when she's not saving souls through melody, she's living life like a slow-burning poem. No chaos, no headlines, just rhythm. She wakes up late, drinks coffee by candlelight, writes in one of her hundreds of journals, pages filled with perfume, pressed flowers, and truth. She calls herself Crazy Aunt Stevie, a title her goddaughters adore. No children, no husband, no need to explain. Her love story has always been with music. Evenings are quieter now. Maybe a glass of wine, a cat purring on her lap, Fleetwood Mac vinyl spinning faintly in the background. Sometimes she reads old poems. Sometimes she writes new ones. Always she dreams. And in those dreams, you can almost hear the echo of her younger self. Barefoot in a small apartment, guitar in hand, still believing that one good song can change everything. Because in a world that celebrates noise, Stevie Nicks built an empire of silence, and made it sing. Her Pacific Palisades mansion isn't just her home, it's her final verse. A love letter to solitude, creation, and the kind of wealth you can't count in zeros. And if you close your eyes for a moment, you can almost picture her there right now. Candlelight flickering, journal open, wind carrying the faint hum of landslide through the air. It's not nostalgia, it's continuation. Because even when the lights go down and the crowd goes home, Stevie's still writing, still dreaming, still becoming. So the next time you hear her voice on the radio, don't just listen, feel it. Because that sound, smoky, haunted, defiant, isn't just a song, it's a lifetime, a spell, a woman who turned her solitude into gold, her heartbreak into hymns, and her home into heaven. And maybe that's the real lesson behind the Pacific Palisades mansion. That luxury isn't about the marble floors or the million-dollar views. It's about having the peace to be exactly who you are when no one's watching. If you felt the magic in Stevie's story, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of legends, and tell us in the comments, what's your favorite Stevie Nicks lyric? The one that healed or haunted you? Because the songs fade, the tours end, but the stories live forever. And as the ocean whispers outside her window and the moonlight hits that infinity pool just right, you can almost hear her voice in the distance. Soft, timeless, and free. I am still just a dreamer, dreaming the dream.